everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a Q&A. I recently asked you all over on Instagram what questions you had for me, and I also pulled a few good ones from my DMs, so I think that there should be a little something for everyone here. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So the first question is 3.45 GPA competitive for postgrad? So this is a question that I receive a lot from undergraduate students who think that they might be interested in pursuing graduate school. And the advice that I always give is to never let your GPA hold you back from applying. So a graduate school application consists of many components, including your GPA, but also things like personal statements, letters of recommendation, your CV, and so forth. I think now more than ever, programs are interested in well-rounded applicants. And if that's the case, then they really need to take your full application into consideration in addition to your interviews. Try not to get too hung up on your actual GPA. It is what it is. You never know unless you try. The next question is, how many potential advisors did you contact when looking for PhD positions? So I really don't even remember exactly how many people I sent emails to. I'm sure that it was a pretty large number. And the reason being is that you need to send more emails than you will receive responses or offers. That said, you always want to make sure that your emails are personalized to that individual. So it's okay if you have some sort of a template, but you want to make sure that a good paragraph or at least a few sentences of that template is specific to that individual. What is it that you're interested in about their research, perhaps a paper that you've read of theirs that you really enjoyed? This will definitely help to increase your likelihood of receiving a response, and it also helps to personalize that communication that you're having with someone that you would hope to be your advisor in the future. Another thing to remember is that it's important to send emails out before you apply to a PhD program, because it's possible that that individual will be on sabbatical or that they are not planning to take students. Maybe they don't have funding this semester that you're planning to apply. So you always want to make sure that you're not wasting any of your valuable time and resources by sending out that email and checking to see if they're even planning to accept a student. And then related to this, how long does it usually take to hear back from people? I would say that if you haven't received a response within 7 to 10 days, you might just send one follow-up email in response to your original one just to see if they received it. The next question is, going to start a PhD in September. Tips to prepare / things to do beforehand? Thank you. Take some time for yourself. See friends or family that you may not have the opportunity to see again for some time, and also to start to reflect on what a realistic schedule might be for you. So it's likely that in your first semester, it's going to be a big time of transition and you're going to be very busy with classwork, research, and so forth. So take some time and think about, when will you go grocery shopping? When will you clean your house? And when will you exercise? It might sound trivial, and sometimes we can feel like logistics will work themselves out, but if I've learned anything throughout this PhD process, it's that it's so easy to let those things fall by the wayside. If we start off by prioritizing our health from the beginning of our PhD, it can really help to benefit our experience throughout. So this person asks how to get bigger tasks like discussing results or writing done if one only has 2 hours per day each month. This is definitely a good question, because I know that there are many people who work full-time jobs or have families that they are caring for during their PhD. My recommendation, if you don't have much time to focus on those bigger tasks, would be to try, if possible, to schedule those tasks during the day when you are most cognitively efficient or alert. So for me, for instance, I like to do my writing in the morning because I know that's when I'm at my mental best, that's when I'm most clear and focused. So if it's possible to decide when you get that time in, that's what I would recommend. Another thing would be to try to remove distractions during that time, right? So maybe that's leaving your phone in the other room, whatever it may be, trying to ensure that you remain focused during that critical period and that you're able to get into a state of flow is a big recommendation. So this might also mean making sure you have a good meal before you begin working, whatever it is that can sometimes distract you. Also, I would recommend that even if you just have a 2-hour block, you still take some breaks in that time. I know with myself, sometimes when I'm sort of falling away from my work, it can be that I'm really just craving a quick break. So taking short breaks, getting up, moving our body a little bit, getting that blood flowing can also help to sort of prolong that state of flow that we can achieve. This next question is an interesting one. Identification and application process for sending an article to a journal. So for a little context to this question, it's really important which journals we decide to submit our manuscripts to because it can influence whether or not they ultimately become accepted, right? So for me, the first thing that I do when I'm preparing to submit a manuscript is I consult with my advisors because they have more experience and wisdom than I do about where a good fit for that manuscript or article would be. That said, goodness of fit is definitely one of the primary things that we consider. So we think about the audience that we think will be most interested or will benefit most from that paper, and then we seek out a journal that has that primary audience. Whether or not a paper is a good fit or well suited for that journal is definitely a big predictor in whether it will be accepted. Another thing that we think about are things like impact scores, because this too can influence how competitive it is to have your paper accepted at that journal. So you sort of collectively weigh this variety of components and then decide on the best choice from there. Another great question about preparing to apply to graduate school is how to get letters of recommendation after undergrad or improve your CV after undergrad. Such a good question, and another really common one that I get from undergrad students. So if you are planning to apply to a research-oriented PhD, I always recommend getting experience in research. There are a few ways that you can go about doing this. The first way that I recommend, which is how I started off in a lab, is by approaching a professor in a course that you have done well in. So whether or not you're in that course currently, or maybe you were in it a year or years ago while you were in undergrad, reach out to that professor and see if you could attend a lab meeting. Asking to attend lab meetings is sort of a low pressure way to get your foot in the door. It is likely that people are willing to let you sit in on the lab meeting if you're interested in the work that they're doing. Lab experience, particularly at the undergrad level, is great for exposure and just for starting to build your research skills. It's possible to gain valuable research skills in any lab that you're in, and you always have an opportunity to sort of specify or hone in on specific topics later on throughout your academic career. Ideally, you'll get into the lab that you think is exactly what you want to be doing, but that just isn't always the case in today's competitive world. So if you can get some research experience in a lab, I would take that opportunity. The next thing that I'll say about lab meetings is that now more than ever, many lab meetings are taking place remotely. You could potentially reach out to PIs and attend meetings in regions that geographically are not where you are located, right? So you're no longer limited to this specific area that you live in. You could potentially attend outside lab meetings as well, which I think is a fantastic opportunity to gain more exposure. I know for me personally, many of my RAs just work remotely with me, so I would take advantage of this unique time and see if you're able to attend outside meetings as well. Remember, if you help someone on multiple projects in the lab, then you have multiple points that you can add to your CV about your research experience. This person talks about how they're interested in applying to some PhD programs at some universities in the US, and they would like to reach out to the professors to ask about potential internships for the summer before they apply, but they don't want to come across as presumptuous or unprofessional. I would say definitely go ahead and reach out. Take some time to put together a thoughtful email, maybe have some other people read it over to who you trust, and then go ahead and take a shot. You really never know what opportunities may exist for you until you try. And I think that when it comes to professors seeking out PhD students, showing that you are intrinsically motivated and eager to learn is a fantastic trait. So I don't think that there is anything wrong with seeing if some opportunities exist for you. If nothing else, you're sort of sparking that connection early on. This next question is a fun one. They've asked where I like to shop. I really like to shop at places like Nordstrom Rack, TJ Maxx, and Marshalls, or if you're in the West Coast area, Ross, which they don't have out here on the East Coast, but it's basically the same as Marshalls. I like to go places where I can find the quality that I'm looking for, but at a lower price, because we all know I am a treasure hunter. So for instance, I recently received an award, and the dress that I wore to the ceremony was BCBG, and I got that from Marshalls, which was such a steal. I also like to get some basics from places like Gap, where they have a lot of coupon codes a lot of the time, and then also Target. The last question for today, this person talks about how, as a person of faith, I've been compartmentalizing compartmentalizing that part of my life and keeping it separate from my job. How do you mentally integrate these two parts of your life? So I've really reflected a lot on this question, and I'll be honest, I don't have a great answer for it. I think that compartmentalizing aspects of my life is something I've done for so long, not just with my work and my faith, but also with sort of my upbringing and how I used to live my life as compared to how I live it now as an adult, where I'm creating it myself. So it's definitely a challenging journey and something that I continue to learn more about each day. I think personally, I feel like I have room in my life, in my mind, and in my heart for both my work and the scientific mindedness, as well as for my faith and my spirituality. I think if nothing else, I feel like my faith is something that I'm always carrying with me. And so it does come with me in all of my interactions with others, whether it be friends and family in my personal life or those colleagues and mentors that I work with in my professional life. And for me, a lot of the time that means having positive interactions with others, not becoming defensive when communication gets tough, which I definitely do from time to time, no doubt about it. But just having a lot of grace with others and also trying to do so with ourselves. And I think that is something that we can all benefit from, not only in our personal lives, but also professionally. So I know that's not a great answer, but I hope it provides a little bit of insight on what some of my thoughts about that are. So that is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. As a quick update, Sam is graduating from optometry school with his doctorate this weekend. So we have family coming out tomorrow. And then right after, we will be doing some traveling to go see some more family. So I will likely be taking a little bit of time away from social media to just really soak up that time. I appreciate you all for being here as always. Please, if you have any more questions for me, comment down below. Let me know what those are. Let me know what else you would like to see from me. And with that, I will see you in my next one. Bye.